My name is Cornfed and welcome to another episode of Cornfed Reviews. Today we are reviewing Alien Romulus. Should you spend your money on it? Should you go see it? Is it worth your time or should you wait for it to be on streaming? Let's find out. Alien Romulus takes place 20 years after Ridley Scott's Alien movie and about 40 years before the sequel Aliens or Alien 2. This movie puts us into this world where there's a group of characters, teenagers, and they have to go to space for some reason to steal something to get somewhere, right? It's a little convoluted. One of my biggest gripes with this movie is, especially in the beginning, the dialogue is really muddy, and that's not because of the sound. It's because of these characters. I don't know if they're from the UK, British Columbia. I don't know if that's the same place or not. But their accents are incredibly thick, and it makes it really hard to understand what's going on, where they're going. Not to mention, they do that sci-fi thing where it's like, we have to go to Quaxlar 12 and 8 light years to where it's like, okay, what's going on? Until finally they get to the spaceship, they get to the place, and like, okay, cool, this is what I'm here for. We're the aliens, right? That's the story. Let's start off with the pluses. Number one, I highly, highly, highly recommend you watch this movie in IMAX. This is one of the best IMAX experiences I have ever had. The visuals were crisp. You are set in space when you're looking at all these beautiful stars. The CGI is top tier. I don't want to say it, but it's interstellar level, man. You're watching these asteroid belts, these spaceships lift into space and drift and crash, these explosions. The visuals are there, and it is why you go to an IMAX theater. And I can't recommend you watch this movie in IMAX enough. The visuals are fantastic. The xenomorphs sometimes are a little iffy. The CGI and the xenomorphs sometimes, especially when there's a lot of them on screen, it gets a little But there's a lot of use of practical effects, and I love that. Little hidden fun fact here, they brought on the same practical effects guy that worked on Aliens, the sequel to the original Alien movie, so that's pretty cool. I really enjoyed the use of the practical effects here, but when there wasn't practical effects, the CGI was amazing, mind-blowing. If this movie doesn't get an Oscar or Academy Award or whatever for sound design, I'm gonna be pissed. The soundtrack was amazing. Shout out to Benjamin Wallfish. He helped work on the Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack, and oh my gosh, the soundtrack for this was amazing. I don't really pay too much attention to the score unless I notice it, and I definitely noticed it with this movie. Next time you're running late to somewhere, an appointment to work, throw on He's Glitchy. This song is so intense and it's so freaking good, and it sets the vibe for this movie. The sound design has it covers everything, the horror aspects, the thriller, the suspense, and it really captures the 80s, late 70s vibe that the original Alien movie had. So I love that. A minus: every character in that movie, stale, flat, super uninteresting. I didn't have or feel any emotional moments. There were moments where they tried to tug at a crying moment, but I didn't feel anything. The characters were really boring, flat, except for David Johnson's Andy, which is an AI, funny enough. Anytime he's on the screen, he stole the show, and I was engaged for that reason alone, when the movie did get a little slower at times. Speaking of the movie's pacing, the movie started off a little slow. Again, they have to do exposition, storytelling, all that stuff. But when it picks up, man, it picks up. Like, dude, it's boom, 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 boom. Slows down for a little bit, and then boom, 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 boom. The pacing is really good, and once it picks up, it really picks up. There is a moment in this movie where there's aliens coming and something else is happening at the same time, and it makes it so suspenseful, so thrilling, and so good. I was having so much fun in this movie, especially during that middle act. Again, I want to touch on this one more time, but there are certain shots in this movie that are so beautiful. There are a moment when they're walking on this space station floor, and it's all illuminated by this neon blue. So beautiful. The camera work, when it slowly pans over with the character's face in the middle. Some of this stuff is truly beautiful and awe-inspiring and jaw-dropping. I just had to geek out a little bit. I was a huge fan of that, and this movie executed really well. Again, on the shots, the CGI, all that stuff. It is visually beautiful, visually amazing, and I can't, again, recommend you watching this in IMAX enough. One last thing I want to add before we head into the negatives is I do recommend you watching at least the original Alien movie before going into this one. I didn't refresh it up. I didn't rewatch Alien. The last time I've seen Alien was probably more than 5 years ago. But there are some good Easter eggs, homages, and little fan service in there that you would enjoy more if you go back and revisit the first Alien movie before watching this one. But by no means do you have to. Everything will still make sense, but you'll just enjoy it a little bit more if you do watch that first Alien movie. There is a lot of goodness for Alien fans, right? If you're an Alien fan, you're going to get what's going on. You're going to get, especially if you are a deep Alien fan, you watch Prometheus, things like that, you're going to understand what's going on. But if you are an average moviegoer, you're not super deep in the Alien lore, you're still going to enjoy it. If you couldn't tell already, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, but it did have a few flaws. And when I say few, very few, and I might be going into nitpicking territory here, but let me list them off really quick. Number one, again, the flat characters, really just not interesting. I don't know if it was an acting thing, but the characters weren't intriguing to me at all. But in my opinion, when you go to see a movie like Alien or a thriller or a horror movie, you're not going into this movie expecting to be pulled in by the characters, right? Because we all know what's going to happen to them, especially in an Alien movie. So I wasn't too upset by that, but I did notice that they were just kind of gray. I didn't really care for any of them, again, besides David Johnston's Andy, who's an AI. But anytime he like carried the movie. He did so good, and he had actually a whole character development thing. It was so good, and that character was amazing. Shout out David Johnston from Snowfall. The second thing, there were some cliches, right? A few cliches I was like, a little, not cringy, but just like, I've seen this quite a few times in movies similar to this, but not bad enough to it really took away from the movie. Slight spoiler. There was a movie when Andy's character shoots the crap out of a xenomorph, and he says, "Don't touch my friend," or something like that, and it kind of was cringy, and then he says "bitch," and then the whole theater started laughing, so it kind of saved it. But there's moments like that, and there's moments where they're walking quietly through a room, and he says, "Run." The amount of times I've seen someone look at the characters and say "run" before in movies is I can't even count. So little things like that, little cliches, but I'm not going to dock too much from that for that. Again, the inaudible characters in the beginning, especially in the beginning, when you get in the meat of the movie, the inaudibleness is a little bit more clear. You get a little acclimated to their voices and stuff like that. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it's because it was an IMAX showing where the sound effects were louder than the dialogue, but that's for me is something I picked up on and noticed. For the average moviegoer, the story, I feel like, I don't know, to be honest, I didn't see the Prometheus movies. And sometimes I felt like the story got a little bit, I don't want to say convoluted, but I don't know. It was semi easy to follow along. I just felt like it could have been easier to follow along if I'd watched all the Alien movies, especially the Prometheus stuff. I feel like I was missing something. I feel like I wasn't a part of the joke. I don't know. Some of the stuff I missed. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. But for me. And then last thing, the beginning is a little bit slower. I feel like most movies, they have to build up to something. They have to do the exposition. They have to do, the story building. Who are these people? Where are we going? Why are we doing this? But it was just a little slow in the beginning. But again, like I said, when it picks up, it picks up. This is just me nitpicking. I have to have some negatives, right? But overall, I had a great experience watching this movie. Go see this in IMAX if you haven't already. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was laughing. There was some jump scares that I genuinely was like, ah! Okay, not like that. But there's a lady behind me who was like, ah! And she was the only one in the theater, and it was really embarrassing for her. I can only imagine. But I highly recommend you see this in IMAX. If not, go see this in a movie theater. This is why you go to the movie theater, for experiences like this. This movie is not going to change your life, but you're going to have a great time. Last thing I want to end on this, before I give you my final score. There is a part in this movie where it does a tonal shift, right? So the whole movie, there's jump scares and this and like that, but I wouldn't classify it as a horror movie until the last half end of the third act, right? The whole time it's suspenseful. You're creeping around face huggers, and you're trying to dodge aliens and be quiet. It's suspenseful, it's thrilling, and it does that great. But at the end, it completely divulges into a horror movie, at least in my opinion. I love the original Texas Chainsaw movies, and this gave it a run for its money horror-wise. There were scenes like when I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like pulling my sweater because I couldn't even look, dude. It was like so creepy. And you will get it when you watch this movie. I'm gonna put out a spoiler review if you want to go see what I'm talking about. But I love that. I was obsessed with it, and I was all into that, and just beautiful. Final rating for this movie, I feel really good giving it an 8 out of 10. Certified fresh, corn-fed approved, 8 out of 10 rating. There weren't a lot of negatives, but it's not gonna, again, it's not gonna change your life. It's not a, movie of the year contender, but there are a lot of great things about this movie. Again, the visuals are amazing. The score is amazing. Andy, amazing. There are, it's everything you want in an Alien movie and more. And I love Alien Covenant, but I'm not a huge fan of the action Alien movies. I prefer the suspenseful thriller horror Alien movies where it began. And this movie gives you all of that. So I give it an 8 out of 10. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did you enjoy it? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Please let me know. I'd love to hear it. Look out for my spoiler-heavy review coming out within the next couple of days. I want to give myself a few days to digest it, maybe go see it again, and I want to give you a few days to go see it for yourself, and let me know what you think before we get into the meat and the bones of the story in this movie, and really rip it open and review it and dissect it. I want to do it together. But until then, I hope you enjoy this movie. Subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my corn-fed field trips. They're a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. Look out for my spoiler-heavy review coming soon.